Okay, gentlemen, we are starting now. Please keep your phones inside. Last lecture of the week, actually a leftover lecture which we did not cover previously. It's a very simple approach. It's about puberty. Can you please close the door from there? Thank you. Okay. Much of the facts are known about puberty because we have touched this topic somewhere during the hormones, female sex hormones. We did not discuss the male hormone, but still we have a good idea about what kind of changes will be there in a male when he passes through the stage of puberty. Okay. So the matter of fact is that we have to just see the male and female changes, how are they controlled hormonally, and this is it. Defining puberty. It's a special phase of life in a male or a female when he or she is passing through physical and mental and emotional changes. A set of changes which is happening. This period divides the life between the childhood life and the adult life. So when a child is being transformed into an adult, that phase of life is known as puberty. Okay? So a transition from the juvenile state or the juvenile age of the child to an adult person, okay, some years of life are regarded as the years of puberty. Puberty will not just occur in one day. It will not take 1 week. It has to pass through a period of years actually, and after being transformed into an adult individual, this phase finishes. Okay? In this phase, we see the special characteristics which are developing in a person, and the set of characteristics is known as secondary sexual characteristics. Please. Primary sexual characteristics are maujood from before in a boy or in a girl, which makes a boy and girl a girl. Okay? But then some additional characteristics develop and define the external appearance and the internal structures and the emotions and personality, and together everything is one package, and that package is called secondary sexual characteristics. Some of those you can see, most of those you can see, they are observable, and some of the characteristics are developing inside. All these are making secondary sexual characteristics. So puberty is marked with the development of secondary sexual characteristics both in male and female. Okay? Puberty is the time when we are passing through all these changes, that is secondary sexual characteristics, and at the same time we are having some changes in our behavior, our psychology, and we have some adjustments socially, culturally, in our families, with the persons, our relationships change, our behavior is modified, and that phase of life in the behavioral science is known as adolescence, when we are becoming adult really. Okay? Our mind is changing along with the body. Our emotions, our psyche is changing, okay, and that is known as the phase of adolescence. So puberty is accompanied with the phase of adolescence, which is going side by side. Another expression. All right. Well, this graph I don't have to go it through again and again. It's the same hypothalamus, pituitary, and gonads, males and females, testis and ovaries. You know that. Okay? You know the connection, you know the feedback, you know the positive feedbacks, you know the negative feedbacks which are happening. The whole idea is that this axis does not operate before puberty. some forces, some factors, some influences keep it suppressed or inhibited, and it is silent. Puberty is marked by the activation of this axis. The whole process starts. In the beginning, this process is not very good. Hormones begin slowly and a little amount is secreted, but gradually it becomes powerful and perfect, and this system then operates in a very effective way throughout the life, as long as the reproductive life is there. For females, this system will act for the time till menopause, and then changes will come. For males, there is no limit. It will carry on and on and on and on as long as the person is living. Okay? So in this way, this axis is working. Anyway, the main thing is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the starting point. So it means there are some forces in a child which are stopping hypothalamus from secreting GnRH. Do you remember? Gonadotropin releasing hormone. And that is the essence, you know. If this hormone is there, everything is okay. It will control pituitary. Pituitary will then control the gonads, testes and ovaries in the males, and the feedbacks will operate. There is no problem. Okay? So it means your starting point has to be hypothalamus. It means the forces which are inhibiting, their focus is hypothalamus. These forces can be outside forces, maybe some chemical factors, some hormones, few things. We are not sure about that. Okay? There are many theories. Some hormones, some chemical factors are there which are inhibiting the neurons of hypothalamus, keeping it asleep, okay, till the time of puberty. And then during the time, a little before puberty, there is a change in the behavior. Maybe the neurons of hypothalamus, they are changing. Their response is changing. Okay? Maybe the hormonal factors which were there, they are decreased, or they do not act on the hypothalamus, or maybe factors are present, but now hypothalamus is bringing a change. Maybe the genes inside the neurons of hypothalamus, they are changing. The new genes are getting activated, and the old genes are decoded, or not decoded, they are repressed, or they are actually inhibited. So if there is a change in the behavior of hypothalamic neurons, you know hypothalamus is made up of neurons. Okay? These neurons will secrete gonadotropin releasing hormone. If these neurons are working properly and they are sensitive to the external forces and their inside factory is also working, GnRH will be released. But if there are some inhibitory factors present locally in the hypothalamus, or maybe inside the neurons, or maybe from outside, then GnRH will not be secreted. This GnRH secretion is unmasked or revealed at the time of puberty, a little in the pre-pubertal period when the puberty is just going to start. Okay? So your focus is hypothalamus. There are some changes in pituitary also, because hypothalamus will control the pituitary. It means pituitary also has to become functional and more sensitive. It means the receptors of the pituitary should also increase. If hypothalamus is secreting GnRH, at the same time, for the istiqbal of the hormone, pituitary cells will have to increase the receptors also. Okay? So hypothalamic pituitary relationship changes. And at the same time, the messages also go in some other areas of the body, which will also release some hormones, and these hormones will be very effective in bringing, yes, okay, one is gonads definitely, because main hormones will come from the gonads, which will cause changes in the body. But apart from gonads, one more area is there. Oh yes, adrenals. Okay, so initially adrenals are stimulated also by hypothalamus pituitary axis, and adrenals will secrete androgens, and these androgens will start the changes really, and along with the gonadal hormones, androgens of the adrenal cortex, or the hormones of adrenal cortex, they work together and they bring about the changes. Okay, so I told you about simple thing. Your gonadostate, or the control center in the hypothalamus, is silent in a child. It will become active by a very special way, some mysterious way, at the time of puberty or a little before puberty. The hormone or any other chemical factor, whatever, hypothalamic neurons change. They are triggered, they are stimulated, they were sleeping before, and now they become active. How they become active, we are not sure about that. Genetically a message is there, or some hormones, upregulation of receptors, or something else, but definitely genes are involved in that. Okay? We have not completely discovered everything which happens at the time of puberty. What kind of exact change is coming in the hypothalamus, we are not sure. But we put forward many theories that maybe this thing is mawjood, this one, like this, okay, and we'll see. So it means during the prepubertal time, what is the level of the gonadotropin releasing hormone in the blood? Very low, takriban negligible level, very, very low level, or almost absent. What is the level of FSH and LH? Very little amount, traces of FSH and LH present in a very little amount, and they are not doing anything. They are not capable of doing anything, basically. Okay? So, if you can see the graph, the level of the FSH LH remains very low in this phase. 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, and 10 years. At this time, 9 to 10 years, there is a slight change in the FSH and LH, and now it means some system is getting activated. Maybe GnRH is now active, and now it is stimulating the pituitary to release little amounts of FSH LH. It is in the pulsatile way, pulses, it's going on, but still the levels are now rising. Before puberty, the levels were very low, baseline levels were mawjood. I'm not saying zero, I'm saying very little amount, which is insignificant, which is not important. Okay? A little amount of probably estrogen hormone or some hormones, we believe that they have a negative effect, a very strong negative effect on the hypothalamus. It means in a girl or in a boy, hypothalamus is very sensitive, negative feedback, very sensitive to little amounts of estrogen or some hormones, okay, like that. Maybe some androgens and estrogens, very low amount, they are having a very strong negative feedback and they are suppressing. This may be one of the factors. I'm not saying this is the only factor, this could be one of the factors. Maybe some other factors inside the neurons are there. Maybe some local neurotransmitters are there which are controlling and which are inhibiting, and we also believe that. As this inhibition is removed, as the gonadotropin, the secreting, GnRH secreting neurons are released from the effect of these factors, they become active, and this is the time puberty is starting. Okay? Look at the changes. Okay, now we learn some terms, please. Okay, that becomes a little interesting. Puberty is very easy to understand, really. Okay, one thing is not present there, some reason is there, and after a particular period of time, a change is coming in one of the centers. Now the center will control other centers, and that has to go. Adrenarche is one of the changes which is happening at the time of puberty. Okay, the second change is that decrease inhibition, decrease suppression of the hypothalamus, which is gonadostate, gonadotropin releasing hormone area. Its suppression is released. Okay, it becomes active. The third thing is gradual increase in sensitivity and response of the hypothalamus and pituitary relationship. I told you, when GnRH is secreted, the pituitary also has to become active, has to become sensitive, otherwise FSH LH will not be released. So the sensitivity becomes gradually more and more and more and more, and in some years you will see the maximum levels of FSH LH. In the first year or so after puberty, still function has started, but FSH levels are not really very high as they are seen in later part of the life. LH levels will not be there, and that's why we are not sure about ovulation. Will it happen properly or not happen properly? I told you. Okay, in the first few cycles in the female, up to 1 year or so sometimes, the ovulation is uncertain. Mumkin it is there, mumkin not. Okay, it's not really necessary because you don't get very high levels of LH, and before that FSH is not good. That's why the follicle does not grow very well. When the follicle does not grow very well, the LH response is also decreased. LH is decreased in little amount, and its final working and receptors are not very well. Anyhow, so these changes are happening. Now let us understand the words. Adrenarche is a new word for us, isn't it? Okay. Look at the words, look at the terms. Okay. I'll give you some terms and let us discuss the terms. Number one, I say menarche. You know that. Okay. Onset of menstruation at the time of puberty, when the menstrual bleeding, the very first menstrual cycle starts, and there is a very first evidence of bleeding for the very first time in the life of a girl. Very disturbing emotional phase, scary also. All of a sudden bleeding starts from one part of the body, and it is not easy to adjust really. It needs a lot of emotional support and counseling, definitely. Thanks to Allah, it doesn't happen with us males, okay? Otherwise the persons would have disturbed emotionally. If some kind of this experience, a blood-like experience comes, okay, it can scare anyone really, isn't it? Okay, so females bear that only. Anyhow, menarche, the meaning is known to us. Just like that, we have some terms which are happening at the time of puberty, and that are very interesting terms. One term is known as adrenarche. Okay, when the adrenal gland becomes functional so that it can meet the requirements of the puberty and can secrete a good amount of androgens. Before that it is mawjood in children also. In fetus, and adrenal androgens are secreted. In young age they are present, but a little amount is there. Now it becomes mature and secretes a good amount, okay, which is required for the puberty. Okay, for the secondary sexual characteristics also, it contributes. At that time when the adrenal gland becomes active, the cortex, and it starts secreting sufficient amounts of the androgens, this indicates the maturity of the adrenal cortex, and this phase is called adrenarche. Okay, activation of the adrenal cortex at the time of puberty. With adrenarche there is something else related, and we call it pubarche. Pubarche. When I say pubarche, actually I am focusing the pubic region, and in the pubic region I am thinking of the development of a new change is happening, and that is growth of hair at the time of puberty, pubic hairs. So pubic and axillary hair, when they are growing, and these hairs are related to the adrenal androgens, especially in the females, if you remember. For males, testosterone, okay, and some amount coming from adrenal also. But for females, it is adrenal androgens. Estrogens do not cause hair growth, you know that, okay? It's adrenal androgens. So that's why when adrenarche is happening, adrenarche is causing a physical change. And what physical change is there? Development of the pubic and axillary hair, khususan females. This phase is known as pubarche. So pubarche follows the adrenarche, or they are going takriban side by side. First adrenarche starts, and then it is followed by. So these terms are now clear. Menarche, you know the meaning. Adrenarche, you know the meaning. Pubarche, you know the meaning. Gonadarche. Gonadarche means gonads are becoming functional, and it means they are secreting hormones, and they start their sexual function also. Means gametogenesis and sexual maturity, along with hormonal releases, you know, for males and for the females. When this happens, so this phase is called gonadarche. Okay, gonadarche is actually controlled by the hypothalamus. So hypothalamus is controlling the gonadarche. When gonads become active due to the GnRH release, then FSH, LH, and then, so hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis is when operative and working, the gonadarche is there. Okay, one more term which is there, it is known as thelarche. Thelarche. Thelarchy. Now this term does not tell you the meaning by itself, okay? Gonadarchy you can guess, pubarchy you can guess, adrenarchy you can guess, menarche you already know that, okay, from menstrual cycle. But thelarchy is a jadid word, okay? Difficult to guess really. Tell, what do I relate really, okay? But thalamus has nothing to do with this kind of a setup. Hypothalamus is important. It's done already. It's covered in gonadarchy. So what could be there in thelarchy? Some change. Belongs to the females now. Belongs to the females, not for the males. Thank you. There is it, okay? Good guess. So it's breast development, okay? You know, another change which is happening, not in us, in the females, okay? There is slight stimulation of breast in males also at the time of puberty, but that is so insignificant that we don't take it into account. We actually go for the true breast development, staged development of the breast in a female through the years of adolescence when she's passing through puberty. You see, breast development happens over, and it is not a matter of 1 day or 6 months that she will develop the breast. It goes slowly, years by years, okay? So this evolution is coming in few years, and at a particular age she develops complete breast, and then the breasts are now fully formed. They will keep on changing. The breasts are very special tissue. They don't remain same throughout the life, okay? Please remember one point. Give me a second. Assalamu alaikum.